and we're going to go to the big island here where we are. Out here, we have two folks going to come up and join me now up on stage. The infamous or famous Russell Galante will be here, as long as the owner, an incredible designer at Grace Flowers, Allison Higgins, who's over in Honokaa, which isn't too far from where I live in Waimea. And she's one of the greatest designers we have out here. We're so lucky to have them both here. I'm going to bring them up with me here. So we're going to do our 6 feet distancing strange stance pattern here. Come on up, guys. Allison Higgins from Grace Flowers, Russell Galante from the university here, and we have Gordon Inouye.
Hey, Gordon.
Out there. There he is.
How y'all doing there? Sorry I can't be there with you, but I've been watching and enjoying the show this morning, having a great time.
We miss you, but we're glad to see you on Zoom here.
Oh, for sure. Better here than never.
Yes. Well, I think we're going to be seeing our video that we filmed at Hilton, which was gorgeous and a lot of fun. Aloha. My name's Allison Higgins. I own Grace Flowers Hawaii on the big island of Hawaii here. Today we are going to be filming here at the Hilton Waikoloa Village. It's a gorgeous resort. So you can see that behind me. A little bit about myself and my business. My shop has been open for 9 years this November, and I have an amazing staff of 16 employees, and they are incredible. We do a lot of weddings and events here at the Hilton. This is a really popular and amazing site for weddings. We also do large groups. The Hilton is one of the largest capacity hotels on our island, so they can seat, I think, all the way up to like over 500 people. So we do some big groups here. Obviously with COVID, things are a little changed, but they do have some beautiful outside venues as well. We do weddings here, and yeah, it's a great place to work. We're really excited to be here today. A lot of the florals that I'm using will be tropicals. I'll be focusing on my main design on anthuriums, but I'm gonna be tucking in some temperate flowers, and we call the temperate flowers, those are usually the flowers that are grown in a little bit of a colder weather, whereas the tropicals want more warmth. What I'm gonna be making today for you is a flower column. They're gonna be really diverse and versatile. The ones I'm doing today, like I said, mainly anthuriums, but I'm gonna showcase tropical foliage and quite a few different types of things. So I've got this variegated ribbon dracaena, achote, about 10 varieties of anthuriums. Monstera, I have this beautiful variegated monstera, which is something that a lot of our growers are going to be starting to grow in the future. It's something that's kind of upcoming and trendy. It is hard to source right now, but we were super fortunate to get some. So yeah, I'm going to be demonstrating how to do this mechanic. The mechanic I'm going to be using is Vili, or to wrap, and I'm going to be doing it with paddle wire. The hairpiece I'm doing is actually V-lead or wrapped, and that's how we make a lot of the lepo'o. I'm actually going to be wrapping completely around the bamboo though, so it's going to be poi poi style. So it's going to be a wrap completely around. Poi poi is round, to round. So V-lead, poi poi is what I'll be making, and when we're done, it'll be taller than me. So we're starting off with a post that's 5 feet. When you're starting this mechanic, you want to make sure that your bamboo is drilled out so that it can fit onto a stake, or I have this really nice freestanding metal base. The other thing I'm adding to this today is some dried elements. I wanted to sort of give it a little bit of an edgy look, so I have this dried palm, and I'm gonna start with one piece. The paddle wire I'm using is 24 gauge. So to start my mechanics off, I'm gonna wrap it around, and I'm gonna make sure I know where the edge is. And I'm gonna just wrap it and double over that so it gets in real firm. And then just to make sure it's extra secure, I'm gonna take that and wrap it. So I'm kind of just creating a start here. And I'm ambidextrous when it comes to wrapping, so you'll find sometimes I go left and right, so I always try to remember which direction I'm going. So now I have that started. I want to go ahead and use some of this beautiful amaranthus. This is locally grown from one of my growers in Volcano. And then another source of it came from Ahualoa. So 2 different regions of our island, but both have a colder altitude. And then I have some beautiful anthuriums. These are some little coral obaques. And I'm gonna just tuck those up. So you can see I'm starting to get some height and elevation. And I do want some of my other foliage. So these are tea leaf variety, Peter Buck. And it's a nice bronze foliage. So it really highlights well with the amaranthus that I have. The piece I'm gonna be creating is gonna be a mix, well, an echoing of 6 of these flower columns at 3 different heights. So one alone has a lot of impact, but when we mimic and create multiple arrangements, it kind of just adds to the volume. So this will create a large drama and large dramatic area. So if you wanted to create a wedding arch, this would be a different option. So similar feel to the wedding arch, but sort of a new and different take. The other thing this could be used for is if you have like a freestanding metal stand just like this, you could put them at an entrance for an event. So when we did an opening for one of the resorts on the coast, we created 2 really tall flower columns, and they were the entrance to walk down to the new pool. So this idea, this concept can be used a lot of different ways. I would also recommend using it as aisle decor, which would be really fun and different from just tying something to the chairs. So if you're a bride and you wanted to have some tropical flowers in your wedding, that'd be a good way. Yeah, we're really fortunate with the diversity here. We have so many different types of products to use. So you'll see as I'm going so far, I haven't repeated anything except for the double anthuriums, but I'm gonna get into a few more anthuriums because this look, it requires a lot of repetition. You could create it with one type of flower or multiple, how I'm doing right now. I like to add many different types. The Big Island has so much diversity that I really wanted to highlight that in my design today. And what I'm doing, so you can see my bamboo pole is just sort of rotating. I have it loosely in my hand, and I'm just wrapping the wire around. So it's very easy mechanic. I'm gonna grab some of my wild uke. The other thing that I'm gonna be using today is some coconut fiber. So let me show you a real quick trick. If I push my wire up in there, it'll hold for a second. If I do it under the right stem, there we go. And I'm gonna shred the coconut fiber a little bit. This is gonna soften, but it's also gonna kind of hide some of my wire and help keep the stems from getting cut off. So, got a few pieces of that. I'm gonna grab some more of these beautiful red anthuriums. I feel like red is a little bit of an underutilized color, where a lot of brides are opting for blush or white. Red creates such a lush, tropical feeling for me. The red anthurium is one of the first to really be coveted and bred, I think, on our island. And we'll hear more about that later. But so you can see how that coconut fiber covers the wire. And I'll be filling in more. The beautiful thing about this is you can always go back and fill in a little bit as you go. And you gotta be careful because the coconut fiber likes to talk to each other. So you wanna keep it separated. I'm gonna add this beautiful lavender anthurium. I love this with the red. To me, it just breathes aloha and screams Hawaii. So we're gonna wisp that in with some more eucalyptus. And then, You gotta be careful to hold them in place. I was looking at the flowers, focusing too much on the beauty of the lavender and not enough on my hands. So now I have a space here, and what I'm gonna do to fill that is I'm gonna put a Peter Buck and I'm gonna loop it. And looping helps a lot of things. It adds more texture. I now have a space here where I can put an anthurium and it'll push it out a bit more. So it's, instead of going flat, it kind of bounces onto that little tea leaf. The tea leaf loops are something that I've seen in floral designs my whole life. I was born and raised here, and you know, they're almost thought of as an old auntie's trick. And so using them here in a little bit of an unexpected way kind of makes me happy. It kind of makes me feel like I'm taking something that's been used in one way and kind of playing with it and still using it, but bringing new life to it. The other trick I like to do with the tea leaf is to roll them in my hand. And this softens the leaf. So if you're an aspiring designer and you have tea leaf and you want it to be softer and not so turgid, see that? So this is what it looks like before I roll it, and this is what it looks like after. And I probably share that trick every time I do any demo, but I feel like it's so important because it really helps change the feel of the tea leaf and it helps soften it. And something that I love doing with my designs and my staff really enjoys is marrying the tropical flowers that are so versatile with some of these softer tricks and softer things. So when I have this anthurium, I have clippers, I'm just being lazy here. When I have this anthurium and this tea leaf and the monstera, but I put this beautiful soft wild eucalyptus, it adds a different texture, a different element, and so it's very exciting for me, you know, being born and raised here and growing up here and seeing tropical arrangements, to be able to mix the two different elements and design styles to create something beautiful and special that's really unique to Hawaii. I have 3 varieties of eucalyptus. I actually used 4, but I don't know where the 4th one is. This is a little, we kind of call it baby blue, and it's very fragrant. So eucalyptus is something that our island is actually starting to produce, which is really exciting. The other variety is this sort of sickle leaf powdered kind of variety. So these are ones that hopefully we'll see commercially produced in the future. There are a few farms growing them. And they work so well with these beautiful anthuriums and tropical flowers. And you know, it's just nice to be able to play with the different textures. So now I have, you can see all three different types, and it creates a softness. And just with the, like even the monstera leaf, we have the monstera leaf, we're putting that with it, and then you got the eucalyptus peeking through. So it's a really nice textural feel. One of the mechanics I do want to mention when you're designing this is the stems that are softer. So these anthuriums have a beautiful strong stem, but they are prone to breaking if you pull your wire too tight. So if you have things like the coconut fiber or something that's a woodier stem like the eucalyptus, you put your anthurium in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple, because doing a few, having a cluster, I think just makes it a little more of an impact. And then you add that coconut fiber, and you're wrapping that instead of the stems. It helps a lot. It helps keep the stems from breaking. And then you can do a couple wraps around. And this is a nice wild piece of coconut fiber, so I'm gonna be fighting its little trendles. So I'm gonna just tuck that up, because I want them. I want the trendles, but I don't wanna be playing trendle fight the whole design. And you can spin around. So right now, looking at it, I definitely wanna add one of these beautiful obake. Obake is the Japanese word for ghost, and I believe obake is an anthurium variety that was started here in Hawaii, that was propagated here first, hybridized. So you can see that fills that space nicely. And then I'm gonna go through, and so I'm continuing to look. I'm checking for holes or puka in Hawaiian. And I'm filling in, and you can see as I'm going down. So we started out with a 5-foot pole. I'm like 5'7", so we're at like at least 6'6", which is a great height. We're just spinning as we go. So again, everything I'm using was locally grown. And if you're from out of state, you can see how incredible these Hawaiian grown flowers are. And you can just see how they look with that eucalyptus, or even with salao. Salao is a gorgeous green foliage that grows on the Pacific Northwest. It works beautifully. And I have to tell you, there's a little bit of a trend going on with painted anthuriums, and we all have our opinions like that we love or not love that, but I really feel like Hawaii's anthuriums, we don't even need it. I mean, they're iridescent on their own. I just feel like they just shimmer. And I think it has to do with our special climate here and the volcanic soil, and just, I'm so spoiled working with beautifully locally sourced flowers and foliage. We try to use as many things as we can that are sourced locally. And I'm very excited that so many of our growers do ship so that you can experience it if you're not from here, but it's always great to come and visit Hawaii and experience it for yourself as well. So we're gonna keep working on this and just kind of keep going down. And you'll sort of see, eventually it's gonna get hard for me. I might have to do a little like squat, get a little workout while I'm doing this. But yeah, a lot of flower artistry is repetitive, and the repetition creates so much impact and beauty. And mainly in here is red, but I'm gonna, like we tucked in that purple, I'm gonna be tucking a little bit of pink in, because I feel like it adds that depth. And I really want there to be depth in this design. So even though I'm wrapping, I could keep things all at one level. I do want to have some textural things sticking out and kind of playing peekaboo, and even having some longer. So that's coming up out of here. So we'll just keep on wheeling. Okay, so I'm getting really close to the bottom. So my stem lengths are getting long. This taped area is the finished, so that's where I'm going down to. So I'm gonna keep wrapping and basically doing what I was doing, but one of the things you wanna watch when you get this low is your stems, cutting those as you go. And then the other thing is making sure you're kind of putting some things to drape and hide. When it's on the ground, you know, you're not gonna see it too close, but you do always wanna really be aware of your mechanics and make sure that you're covering that. So I'm gonna twist this. I've got about a foot left of bamboo. Another thing that I've found that's helpful is to start to spiral the stems. I'm getting a little close and personal with the Dracaena up in here. But if you spiral your stems, they're going in at an angle, just like a hand-tied spiral bouquet. And that way, the flowers and foliage kind of go out more instead of upright. And I like to just twist and really see where else I need to fill in, make sure that it's full. You'll notice I don't have quite as many flowers on this ending part. You could even do an entire flower column of foliage, but I do want to add some more flowers because I put a lot of them in the other 5 that I've already done that you'll see on the installation. And I want to make sure that this one matches. You could, as you're wrapping, if you had some flowers that were really delicate that you still wanted to use, you could even wrap some water tubes in a design like this, and that way you'd have a water source right on here. So it's a really great mechanic to have in your arsenal, just this wrapping, or in Hawaii we call it vili. And I'm gonna add, I think, one more monstera, and then that will be about a wrap. And now I've made a nice mess and a beautiful flower column, and you'll be seeing us install in a little bit. So thank you so much for hanging out. Aloha. I'm here with Gordon Inoue, and he wears a lot of hats. So I'm gonna let him tell you a little about what he does, and then we're gonna talk about different varieties of anthuriums. As you can see, there's a couple.
Well, I'm the Big Island director for HFNA, and it's my privilege to be here. Anyway, the anthurium industry really grew up on the Big Island here, and we have so many different varieties. We tried to bring an example of most of the popular commercial varieties here. One of my favorite ones is the new Pahoa Red, which is this one here.
So there are a lot of varieties of reds. Mm-hmm. So I learned this when I was prepping. I mean, I use probably 6 different varieties. And this one that Gordon's showing you, the Pahoa, this is one of the main ones commercially grown for Greenpoint and Pacific Floral Exchange. And so yeah, this is something that was developed here on the Big Island, right, Gordon?
Yeah, a fellow by the name of Stan Uishi, who just passed away not too long ago, hybridized this, and it was something new and different, and he called it the new Pahoa Red. And he shared it with all the other growers, and it's a mainstay of our anthurium production, both on this island and elsewhere. But you can see there are so many different other varieties that are commercially grown here too.
And you've got this one that's kind of almost like a little obake.
It is a little obake.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is Kalapana?
Kalapana.
Okay, so this is really cool.
And Kalapana is also hybridized by the University of Hawaii. So,
and then, which is different from Mickey Mouse over here.
That's right. Mickey Mouse
similar but different.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse was hybridized by local growers also.
Okay.
And whereas Kalapana was hybridized by the university.
And then, I mean, look at this dark. It's almost black. We call this like the black anthurium.
We call it the black.
This is Black Queen.
Yep.
So that's really cool, and you can see really the difference. So this is almost more of a burgundy. This one's much harder to get. And then I really like the purples. We're going kind of from that black ombreing on into,
There you
we've
go.
got so many on this table. This is a purple tulip. Is this purple arc?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so purple arc, and then there's an even darker variety, well, almost like a marrying of these two called Regina that Greenpoint's been working with that's amazing.
And a lighter color called lavender.
Yeah, lavender lady.
Yep.
Yeah, and then this super cool variety, it's a little bit bruised. We were carting things over here, but this is a new variety, and I don't know that it has a name yet, but we call it cranberry or Merlot. I just say that one I really like.
I think it's being tested right now.
But
It doesn't have a name.
I'm loving, but you, when you see this, you think of an older anthurium.
Yeah, it's a different type of anthurium and in the Andrianum family.
Okay, because a lot of these old reds will almost fade to this color, and that means they're old. So a lot of the growers see this color and go, oh no, maybe not that color. And then we have pinks. I mean, I don't know what variety this is, but this is a gorgeous shade of pink. And
But this is the main pink.
this is the main one. Okay.
Yeah.
Ray Special.
Yeah, and the other one here is a Marion Seaforth.
Okay.
The Marion Seaforth is, again, hybridized by the University of Hawaii, also called a hot pink.
Okay.
So very, very popular.
And then we got, this is pink bake. Is that different from
Obake.
butterfly? Oh, obake. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My handwriting's bad. And then there's pink butterfly too, but I don't know if we have that here today. But it's similar to this. So we talked a little about obake, but I want to just show you guys. So obake is when it's a little elongated. I hear this almost called like a beard. And then there's the green tinges. So in Japanese, and I talked about this a little in my demo, but it means ghost, right? Kind of
means
that
a ghost.
shape. And so obakes are stunning, and we have quite a few different varieties. So this is actually, is moa considered a obake?
Oh,
Or
yes.
no? Okay,
Definitely
so,
obake.
I mean,
Whenever
look
you
at
have
the
the
bronze
multicolor
on the
on it.
back of this. So multicolor with the
Yeah.
green. Okay, and then we just have a few more. I just wanted to show you real quick. This is from Always Anthuriums, but look at the diversity of anthuriums alone. Like we've got Centennial, which is this tiny little tulip, to this huge obake that could be used as a top. Yeah, the diversity is just sensational, and we'll just highlight. So this is a red or a white. This is a dark red obake, but we've got white, and this is kind of a newer thing, right?
Yeah, the tulip type are called the amnicola anthurium, and whereas the heart-shaped anthurium are called andrianum.
So
And
these
they're
are all
across the
considered
amnicola type.
tulips. Okay,
Tulip
so tulips are the
type.
ones that kind of have that tulip feel, and this has got a really cute cup. So I just want to talk on the white real quick and the green, and just show you guys how cool anthuriums are.
Yeah. Well,
Those pretty much.
what deserves mention are a couple of varieties that have stood the test of time. And I'll pull this one out here, the orange. It's called Anita Orange, hybridized long time ago, maybe 50 years ago. And the Ozaki Red.
I like the Ozaki. I like that this is all more the same color.
Right. And where the Ozaki was the one that established the anthurium industry, 50, 60 years ago.
That's pretty cool.
And they're still around and grown commercially.
And then we have some peaches. Anyway,
yeah.
we could talk anthuriums for hours, but I know we've got a lot more going on in the webinar.
And the names that are given to the anthurium here have a history. Often they're named after family members of the hybridizer, and in some cases they're named after a family who came up with it a number of years ago. But it's really a diverse and interesting thing. Again, these are all anthurium, a
All
wide
anthurium.
range of them.
Yep. All the anthuriums. Aloha. Thanks
Aloha.
for checking it out.
Thanks for being with us.
Allison here again. We're doing our installation. So I wanted to just go over a little bit about the site and what we're doing. I've mapped out kind of what I want to do with rocks, just to give an idea of placement. We're going to be setting up 6 flower pillars, and I have stakes here. And we actually, because we're using bamboo, which is a natural material, we actually labeled each stake so they go specifically with their own bamboo. So what I have in my hand is a 4-footer. So that's gonna go in the middle. And then these guys here, oh, this is a 5.5. So actually I think the 5.5 is the middle, 4 foot's the shortest. And then we have another 4 foot. So I'm gonna be pounding these stakes in the ground, and then the flower columns just gonna go right over the stake. So yeah, we're gonna go for it. Do you want me to start pounding stakes in the ground? Because that's gonna be loud. Okay. My dad gave me this piece of wood so I don't flatten the stake. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so that one's pretty sturdy. So another thing you'll notice when we set these up is especially the longer bamboo poles have a little bit of a lean to them because they're a natural piece. So when you're choosing your posts, always choose something as straight as you can, because if it's got a slight exaggeration, it's gonna have a little curve, which looks good for what we're doing. It's not a big deal, but just something to keep in mind. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do this next one. There we go. That side's a little bit lower, so another thing you want to pay attention to is the surface. So I want to make sure this one's pounded in a little bit lower to make that meet. We want to make sure the heights are good. Okay, now we're gonna put the magic on. I think we'll start with the shortest ones first, because the wind's a little strong, and that way those will stay there longer than the tall ones. I already know this is gonna be a little long of a stake, but we'll just hide that extra with something. Oh yeah, it'll be fine. Like butter. Yep. Okay, looking good. Okay, next we're gonna do the middle. This is the big boy. Okay. And so if this one's jogging a little, what I'll just do is push it. Okay, like that. Yeah, looking good. So my dad had full confidence in this mechanics. I was like, no, Dad, you gotta drill them out more. Dad, you were right. I love you. It's almost like golf. Full disclosure, I have never played golf. I'm just guessing it's almost like golf, trying to put a little thing in the hole. There we go. This must be the leaner. All I'm going to be doing at this point is setting it up and then touching things up on site. So I'm not creating something from scratch all the way out here in the middle of nowhere. There we go. And you can turn them and rotate them a little bit. So I can kind of see where things could get a little adjusted, change things a little bit. You know, if this is for a long event, I'd probably want to double stake them just because I do see some wobbling, but it would work really well, especially shorter ones, on an aisle piece, or even you create a like semicircle of this height that vary down. So it's a real fun look. And the flowers, for the most part, look great. These guys, I made most of them yesterday, so it's a huge testament to the longevity of tropical flowers. And I'm gonna have Gordon come over and we're gonna talk flowers a little bit. Hey Gordon, thanks for coming and helping.
My pleasure, Allison. Amazing work, amazing work.
Thank you. I had amazing product. So I'm just gonna be shoring up the bottoms, put some leaves, but I wanted to ask you, how'd you kind of get into the industry and how long you been growing plants in Hawaii?
Well, I was born and raised here, but I had another career in the merchant marine and also in international finance.
Wow.
In San Francisco. And after a number of years doing that, I decided to come on home when my dad retired.
And was your dad already in the industry?
Yes.
Okay.
I could tell you a story of how I got into the industry, but to make a long story short, he used to be a cymbidium grower.
Oh, wow.
And then my brother Vern joined him, and then they formed a company called Floriculture.
I've heard of it.
Yep. And then when my dad retired, my brother called me and asked me whether I would join him as a family company. And so I did that way back in 1984.
Okay.
And anyhow,
I was alive in '84.
Okay,
for the
good,
record.
good. That's but still a long time ago.
I was
And
2.
so this is the second career for me.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it was. You know, there aren't too many opportunities for people who go away and have certain training to come back here and be able to have a good life here in Hawaii. And you know, growing tropical flowers and being in this business has enabled me to do that. So I'm very grateful for it.
Well, we're grateful to have you. About how many anthurium growers do you think there are here on our island or even in our state? Do you have any ideas?
Well, you know, when one generation ago, there were hundreds, literally hundreds of growers, commercial growers. But over time, with many different challenges and foreign competition, after we created the industry, many foreign countries are growing anthurium now. They're growing them in Holland in greenhouses, in Madagascar, in Taiwan, the Philippines. And so there's a lot of foreign competition for our markets. So our markets are primarily domestic markets and North America, you know, Canada, US, and partially Mexico. So
we can ship all the way to Canada, huh?
Yeah. So today we have maybe 3 dozen commercial growers of anthurium, and they're mainly located here on the Big Island, although there are growers on all the islands supplying their local market. The major exporters of anthurium are here on the Big Island.
Okay. Well, so you ship to Canada?
Yeah. Right now we have a major effort to try and, there's a good demand for our flowers in Canada. However, getting across the international boundary creates higher shipping costs. And so what we're trying to do is put together groups of buyers that can consolidate their shipment and enable us to lower the freight costs into Canada. So we're working with the distributors in Canada and retailers in Canada to make that happen.
Wow. Well, that's exciting. And people in the mainland, I mean, if they love our anthuriums, we can ship them over to them, huh?
Well, you know, in the western U.S., we have overnight service from Hawaii.
Wow.
And to the rest of the U.S., we have 2-day service.
I mean, this product holds up beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can see these guys have been carted across a hotel, drove over half the island, and they're really still going. So,
standing up to a windy day here in paradise.
So I do want to talk about do some thank yous and talk about the growers a little bit.
Well, you know, this industry is dominated by families that have been involved with the floral industry for more than one generation. And right now it's a legacy and it's a unique business. It's very challenging because of all the different economic challenges we face, including labor, medical costs, and fortunately shipping costs is very reasonable now.
Good.
We have as an industry an outstanding contract with major courier companies that enable us to get very good freight rates, a flat rate right across the United States. So it costs no more to ship to San Francisco or Los Angeles than it does to Kennebunkport, Massachusetts, or all the way up to Maine.
But I mean, Canada's a little different, but I know there's some bulk shipping for them too.
There are some challenges with Canada. We're working with the courier companies to resolve those in order to make it economical. We covered,
good.
you know, Canadians are very much North American, much like Americans are, and the demand for our flowers there is very, very high. And of course, they love to travel to Hawaii, and we love to share our aloha with them.
I mean, the best way to experience our flowers is to come to Hawaii, and you can stay here at the beautiful Hilton. Some really special thank yous to some of the growers. Gordon's with Pacific Floral Exchange. Our HFNA president, Eric Tanoe, he is with Greenpoint Nursery. So Greenpoint and Pacific Floral, you guys have provided a lot of the anthuriums and the monstera. I also want a special thanks to Paradise Anthuriums. They provided the tea leaf as well as the Dracaena, I believe.
Yeah.
H. Eunice Nurseries gave us these stunning variegated monstera, which we're hoping in the future.
Allison, we forgot the orchid plants.
Oh, we have orchid plants. Actually, you want to grab them, Gordon? I'll finish the thank yous. So also special thanks, Always Anthuriums provided this huge anthurium as well as several of the reds and a few of the other varieties that we use today. And then I have Kilauea Anthuriums. They did the coral obaques as well as reds. The lavenders were provided by Greenpoint. And then we have the beautiful amaranthus, and that was provided with love from Hawaii Island Flowers as well as Pu'aono Farms. And Pu'aono Farms is one of the farms we're going to be seeing on the farm tour coming up. So yeah, those are some of the growers that made this possible. The eucalyptus were from several different sources. At this point in time, it's not really in production, but tune in because we're gonna have that available for sure. The dried palms and the cocoa fiber were things that I had in my shop. And then we're gonna be bringing in some orchids, and these are gonna be from Puna Flower Power, which Gordon is also spearheading. These are beautiful. These are actually potted plants, but you can see, you could almost put these right into the design and wire them in or put them at the base. So you can even use potted plants. As a florist, a lot of times we use pots, you know, to decorate. If we had some monstera vines, we could put them down, put in a really beautiful basket and enhance the look here. But Gordon, you want to talk a little about these dendrobiums?
Oh yeah, these are grown by the Puna Flower Power, our new cooperative. The one that you picked up here, as you can tell, has little stripes in it, so it's called dendrobium stripe.
Oh, I love that striation. Yeah, that's beautiful.
This other unique one here has a purple lip and green petals, and that's called a Mei Ling. This other one here that's two-tone color is Jacqueline Thomas variety called Univi Prince.
So when we're ordering that as a cut, we usually just say lavender. Are there several lavender varieties?
They called this one two-tone.
Okay, nice.
The other one's called Univi Supreme, which is all purple.
Okay.
And of course, every designer and florist loves the whites.
We do love the whites.
And this one here is called the Emma White.
That's beautiful.
From Thailand.
This one almost has a green tinge to it.
Yes,
I really
it does.
like that.
Yeah, really nice.
All I can see are some clippers cutting it and putting it in a vase.
Yeah, I know. You can do that too.
Okay, as long as I have permission to do that.
But the good thing about
too.
these orchid plants is that they have a shelf life of a couple of months a lot of times.
Yeah.
So they can be enjoyed for an extended period of time.
Well, that's great. And you guys shipping these?
Not yet.
Okay, so
we are selling
you got to
them
be in state for these babies. Like this is an in-state special right here.
Probably by January of 2022.
Okay.
We will be exporting
That's
some.
not far.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're just so happy to be able to show you this amazing product and create designs. We're really excited about Wedding Celebration 2021. Thanks, Gordon.
You're more than welcome. Allison, wonderful job of organizing this. Your creative genius is amazing. And all we could have asked for was better weather today, but we couldn't.
This is actually really good weather for right here. I've done setups here where we had to bind wire some things down. So this is great. We'll take it. Anyway, I think that's a wrap. Aloha.
Aloha and mahalo.
Mahalo nui loa.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was awesome.
Allison's just truly
That was
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
I
She did
had
a
great
fantastic job.
I've never seen those flower columns before, and just looking at it and knowing how she put it together was just so amazing. I'm just deeply impressed.
Well,
And I have to say, I really loved using the tradition, the vili. I just think that is such a great way to convey the beauty of Hawaiian tropicals in a traditional way, but in a new context.
Nouveau.
Really beautiful. Exactly.
Neo-tropical.
Perfect. Oh, yeah. Truly. Fantastic.
So I think there's some questions, Josh.
Yeah, I think Gordon, go ahead.
I was going to say that, I always appreciated the creative genius that Allison has demonstrated, last year and this year. But 2 weeks ago, on the 6th of November, she also did the flowers for my son's wedding at one of the resorts on the west side. And, I went down to the wedding site several hours before the ceremony just to watch and see what was happening. And it was just incredible with the grounds crew setting up the tables and everything else. Allison and her team, I think, had about a 3-hour window to put together everything. Yeah. And they did just a truly amazing job. And of course, she had pre-made a lot of the arrangements such that just had to be set up. Yep. But so much had to be done in terms of design the bar, the wedding site, the venue, the arrangements for all the tables, because the reception was held right after the wedding at the same site. So it was really exciting to see. And the coordination was amazing.
It's a lot of planning and a lot of things go into doing flowers for a wedding, but huge congratulations to Ben and Kim. So yeah, it was an honor to do those flowers.
One of the viewers was wondering, where did the anthuriums in your hair come from?
Oh, so these are actually from Kilauea Anthuriums. They're a boutique farmer here on this island, and they do amazing work. I don't think they're on social media, but they have a website, so you can order through them. They're a HFNA member, and they ship them out and do a great job. Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah.
What's really neat about Kilauea Anthuriums is that rather than growing them in the commercial fashion that most of the other growers use, they went back to their roots and grew them the old-fashioned way. They acquired a site up on the slopes of Kilauea, up in a temperate area where it's cooler and wetter, and they found have a grove of hapu, which is a tree fern, and they're growing them in a sort of a natural environment among the tree fern. And so again, some of the varieties are almost self-created. They've been allowed to mature, and you'll see many one-of-a-kind anthurium from them, especially those abaki that Allison has. And I think during the video you saw that one huge anthurium. I mean, commercially we couldn't afford to grow those because how would you ship them? But they have some really unique examples like that.
The big anthurium, Gordon, was actually from Always Anthuriums.
Okay.
Kilauea and always anthuriums, but they both do propagate quite a few from seed and let the seeds mature. So they do have a lot of different varieties. This one's actually a double, so it's got a little like tiny cakey coming off of it. Super
so
fun.
cool.
So yeah. Anyway, I mean anthuriums. You know, I could talk anthuriums. Gordon and I could talk anthuriums for hours,
We
but
could.
let's. I think there's a few other things going on. Hey, tell me, sorry,
Please.
what's your favorite anthurium?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, I really love, yeah, really, seriously, there's so many because I do love albaces and really the range of colors as they go through the season too, right? Because in the summer, it just gets a little bit lighter. And so it's always never exactly what you expect. And I love that surprise. And everybody should embrace that you don't just look at the catalog or the guide and say, this is what I want. Like the variation is so exciting. So that's kind of what I want to point out. But one of my favorite is Safari. I love
yeah.
Safari.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
That's
Can't go
really
wrong
nice
with
one.
Safari. No,
Yeah.
they're amazing.
Most people are not aware that anthurium flower actually is a little stem that comes out from the body of the flower. And the body of the flower actually is a leaf that is part of the anthurium, which we call the anthurium flower right now. And again, you know, we all call the multicolored anthurium the obake. But again, part of the reason it was called an obake was that that in years back where everyone had a patch of anthurium and they're doing their own backyard hybridizing, the goal was to come up with the pure red. That was the penultimate goal of all the hybridized way back when. And again, I grew up in Mountain View in the late 40s and 50s, and every neighborhood had a patch of anthurium, and they were doing their thing about it. And that's how the Ozaki came to be. You know, that was the prize red. That was the initial flower that gave birth to the industry. But in most instances, you came up with a multicolored anthurium, and to the growers and the hybridizers who were mostly Japanese, to them it was a failure. They said, obake, you know, like a ghost, you know, it didn't come out right. So
And now we
that's how
love the colors.
Exactly.
I know.
That's
We're
how,
always like, do you have anything that's not red? Like, do we have some peach or pink or white or coral? So now we've come almost full circle where I grew up here and red was like common because all the breeders, that's what they focused on. You know, so it brings us to make such a difference being able to communicate with the breeders and to work with them. I think there's a question about the black anthurium.
There are a couple questions about it.
Okay.
And maybe that's something that Gordon could help us with. Gordon, maybe do you know the name of the orange anthurium that was used?
yes, it's called a nitta. Again, named after the family that came up with orange anthurium. You know, oh my goodness, the nitta's got an orange, so it's called a nitta orange.
Okay. And then we use some orange obake also. So I don't know, Gordon, if those have a specific name or they're just referred to as orange obake.
The most common orange obake is an obake created by University of Hawaii called Anui Nui. And that's the orange obake with the green, and that's commercially grown with very good characteristics.
If I'm not mistaken, that has a few more of a peachy coral undertones. A lot of the varieties actually were created here at UH, huh?
There's multiple varieties, and we've got an active breeding program through Dr. Tessia More. And if you were here on Friday, you would have heard from her about the anthurium breeding program.
And you can go back and watch that too, because it was amazing. And seeing the facility where the breeders really like show what they're doing is so exciting. But so exciting. But Josh, we can keep talking if you got questions.
I'm going to bring Russell in on this question. I think is eucalyptus considered an invasive species out here on the Big Island and in Hawaii?
Oh, sure. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a lesson on conservation glossary terms. So you've got endemic, right? And so that's a plant that is only found in its native habitat. It's not found anywhere else. So our native ohia trees, Metrosideros polymorpha, is considered an endemic. There's Metrosideros elsewhere, but they are not the same species. So ohia is only found here in Hawaii. Then you've got native or indigenous, and that's plants that are found somewhere but are also found elsewhere. And they were there before being introduced by humans. And then you've got introduced or exotic. And these are plants that have been introduced by humans. Generally, we consider those introduced or exotic. And then you've got invasive, and that's invasive plants that have a potential to become invasive, naturalized in an ecosystem, and do damage to either an ecosystem or an agricultural system or the landscape. So eucalyptus as a genera is invasive in some of its species. So some eucalyptus that have been introduced are invasive, but the eucalyptus that we're looking at for cut flowers, they're pretty, but they're not vigorous in terms of their invasiveness potential. So we use a number of characteristics to look at the invasive potential of plants. And the eucalyptus that...
I mean, it's a huge genre. I mean, how many varieties of eucalyptus do you think?
I wish I had that number for you.
I mean, you could just make one up. But, I mean, it's a huge, huge family. And then the eucalyptus are part of the myrtle family, which is also huge. So to say something's invasive, it also really involves a microclimate, too.
Sure.
So our island and our state has so many microclimates. Like, that's a pretty hard thing to pinpoint. But
the ones we're looking at,
eucalyptus is not invasive.
Actually, can I ask a question, Russell?
Raise your hand.
Isn't it also that because eucalyptus is so popular, especially like seeded eucalyptus in wedding work, did that not introduce potentially a problem to be importing into Hawaii some from elsewhere? Wasn't that also a kind of a concern that's one of the reasons why you guys started to grow your own so that some things doesn't get introduced coming in?
Sure. Yeah. So the history behind that, we have an import ban in Hawaii for live eucalyptus plants, live foliage, and live seed. And that's because eucalyptus is a host to myrtle rust, also called guava rust. It was originally found in guava in Brazil, but it is a pathogen, a fungal pathogen that infects our native ohia. And so we're concerned about that because ohia is already dealing with another huge pandemic issue, rapid ohia death, and we don't want to exacerbate that by introducing new pathogens. Now, the myrtle rust is already found ubiquitously throughout Hawaii in guava, in other Myrtaceae plants, but we're concerned that by introducing new eucalyptus varieties, or not new eucalyptus varieties, let me take a step back. By introducing live eucalyptus into the state, we might be introducing other strains of the fungus that aren't found here that could be potentially more pathogenic. So what we want to do is cut off the opportunity for new fungus to get in and try to start producing in-state all of our eucalyptus so that we're making sure that we're protecting our native forests.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's important. I mean, and it's important in our industry to be aware of what we're doing and be aware of what we're using, and try to be as sustainable as we can. But also, it's sad that we can't import anything in the myrtle family, which is not just eucalyptus. That includes waxflower, myrtle. But we are working. Russell and his team they're working with other growers on this island to bring in clean plants and to grow some of that local, which is really great. We really love supporting our local growers and having that be an industry that is going to be growing up in the future. Yeah.
So a fun anecdote is we had the Growers and Breeders Forum. Friday? And you were sitting next to me, right, Josh? And then just yesterday, Josh took 80 eucalyptus plants home from our greenhouse, and he's going to start a eucalyptus plot for selling eucalyptus to Allison and some of the other florists. So it's like, this is exactly what we're talking about we need to do.
Synergistic, right? That's the theme of the weekend. We're all working together from top to bottom. And Hitomi, I don't know if a lot of the viewers understand how fragile Big Island and Hawaii, you know, we're on Big Island, so we see it directly. But when something gets introduced, just from a layman's kind of standpoint and a novice as I am at a lot of the flowers and whatnot, but when something gets introduced here, it can flourish so dominant that anything that might have been not a problem in another environment can be so exasperated out here and dominate and flourish just like all the plants and flowers do, that it grows just as good as the plant. And if it's a fungus or whatnot, it can wipe out everything at any time. And some we don't even know what they're doing yet. And that's, once again, I keep referencing back to Russell and all the other great extension agents, but without them, we wouldn't even know what some of these things that are even getting introduced to us are. And they can take hold so fast out here, and I'm sure Gordon can speak to this better than any of us. It's amazing to watch how fast things can go if we're not careful of what we're introducing to this beautiful micro environments that we have all over this island. So anyway, long explanation of is eucalyptus considered invasive, but it's amazing to watch things come in here and then just take over. So we have to be exceptionally careful, and with folks like Allison and Russell and all of us trying to and Gordon trying to not let this happen.
I would say in general, eucalyptus is not considered an invasive, like, it's not something we have an issue with.
Not cut foliage eucalyptus.
Not cut foliage
no.
eucalyptus.
There are silviculture eucalyptus that are a problem.
Okay.
And we're not looking at those for cut foliage. We're only looking at plants that first the industry said that they wanted. So, you know, it had to be 50% or more of the individuals that surveyed for interest in buying eucalyptus said that they wanted this variety. And we also looked at invasive potential through the weed risk assessment. And we picked stuff that in general we could find. Yeah. And so we're mainly looking for seeded eucalyptus, baby blue, silver dollar, and silver drop. Yep. Yeah.
Good question, though.
Any others that you know, Hitomi, that I should plant my plot for you?
I'll be sending you the list.
Me too. Waxflower, calcinia. Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Gordon.
Yes.
Are there any Big Island varieties cleared for ag to the outer islands at all?
You know, that's an area I don't know very much about. I'm more into the potted orchid plants and cut flowers. And to my knowledge, there are no restrictions at the present time for cut flowers and for potted orchid plants, except for coqui frogs, of course.
So yeah, maybe we'll just answer this more broadly. So if you're talking about eucalyptus, because we didn't know what varieties, I think when we got the question, eucalyptus can be exported to cut eucalyptus can be exported to other islands. Potted eucalyptus can be taken also. For example, I just took potted eucalyptus, over to Oahu. In general, the cut flowers and cut foliage, I haven't had to get inspected when I've been transporting them carry on. Potted plants from Big Island need inspection for coqui frog, for fire ants. Potted plants also need inspection from, for example, Oahu back to Big Island. And this is from the perspective of somebody who's doing carry-on or trying to ship them on a plane, from my experience.
Do you ship inter-island
with
plants? Okay.
Yeah, it's very specific. Hitomi, do you know what a coqui frog is?
Yes, I sure do.
She slept overnight.
Beautiful sound of Hawaii.
It's something people don't tell you a lot about until you move out to Big Island and you've experienced it. But it's a little frog that loves to sing at night. It's from Puerto Rico originally, I believe.
They love them in Puerto Rico.
Like
it is their national animal.
Ironically, you do get.
I like
beautiful
them. I like
them. And once you get used to it, but.
I like them better than fire ants. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yes.
And in response to the question of shipping inter-islands, we can pretty much ship things. I don't know with shipping eucalyptus out of state. That isn't something that's really in production enough. But inter-island, if it's a cut foliage, you shouldn't have a problem if you can find someone growing it.
Yeah.
to sell it to you, you should be able to get it shipped inter-island.
Without being somebody trying to sensationalize the issue, I do think there was some national conversation about a Myrtaceae ban from international importers into the states because of concerns of guava rust, of Myrtaceae rust. But I don't think it's anywhere close to becoming a bill.
Well, they talked about our state's ban for 15 years before it finally went into effect. So, yeah, I mean, stay tuned.
I guess one of the things that I really do love in discussing the situation in Hawaii is because you're an island and you are actually need to protect because it's everything around you. Because you're in a climate that is so good for growing everything so quickly that something that grows at a certain pace is exponentially quicker and takes over potentially when it's not protected. And so you really have a very much strong sustainable issue to protect the island. And that's how we should think about really for the planet anyway. So I think it starts right there. And you guys telling us your story really helps us understand what we need to do where we are as well.
Well, I think it also is important to know, and I think for florists, we need to know we have a team of, researchers, Russell and, Joanne's an entomologist and Tessie's a breeder, and it's not just the growers, but behind the growers, there's even a team behind them that's, and that's what's so fantastic about getting together and getting to have these conversations and seeing where varieties start. The black anthurium, I think there was a question about black anthuriums. Josh, if you want to read it.
We were just wondering, a viewer was if anybody is wholesaling the black queen, black anthurium.
Which I talked to Eric about, and Gordon, you probably can answer this too. Eric said they don't really have them available yet, but it's one of the varieties that are coming up. So, Gordon, do you have the black queen available at a Pacific Floral Exchange?
Oh, I can tell you for certain that we do not at the present time. Not we may have a few plants, but nothing commercially available, and so it's many years down the road.
And right now, it's more of a variety that's bred as a potted plant, right?
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah.
You see it here in Hawaii as a potted plant at big box stores. So I know wholesale, it's being sold.
Well, I've seen it in Novelty Greens.
Yeah.
They're carrying it wholesale.
But not as a cut. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, Hitomi, because it's so beautiful.
But it is a small flower too, with a shorter stem.
It is a shorter stem, but the color.
Yeah. And the leaves too.
The leaves are gorgeous.
The thing is, when you see it in a big box store or as a nursery product, it's got black leaves.
Yeah, it's got a
really
blackish
nice.
green.
So
they're
cool.
gorgeous.
I bought it for the leaves.
Back to anthuriums.
Yeah.
You guys need to stop teasing us with all this good
It's
stuff.
coming. But wait, stay tuned.
Yeah, you guys just need a big glass house in Canada.
Yeah.
Producing.
No, she just needs us to work on it faster here.
Yeah. We'll get right on it.
Yes, please.
Gordon, what do you think the folks who are trying to breed the red anthurium all those years back would think now we're trying to breed a black plant? And everybody wants it so badly, right? It was all color, and now we're back to a black plant,
You're trying to make it look like it's dead.
Yeah.
It's so cool looking.
Again, you talk about history, okay, and most of the most of the communities in the country were dominated by ethnic minorities there, which were the Japanese or the Filipino, everything else. And the Japanese were very, very zealous about the red color because, again, red, in the Japanese culture, is a very, very important color. So that was a goal back then. But like you say, there were so many varieties of quote failures or obakis that today it's very, very interesting. One of the things they never really realized or even tested for was yield, resistance to disease, and infection by various different pests for anthurium. And so initially the farms that were created were acres upon acres of Ozaki anthurium. And then when we had the bacterial blight, it just devastated that entire industry in that sense. The bacterial blight affected almost all varieties of anthurium, but more so in certain varieties. So anyway, that's the danger of being a monoculture.
Well, I think as a florist, it's fascinating to me what growers are looking for versus what we're looking for, because, I mean, with the orchid people in Waimea, Bob and Jan, I've gone there and seen what they throw away, and I'm like, this is so beautiful, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, we're breeding for this, this, and this. And I'm like, but this over here is amazing. And so I think florists, sometimes we don't think about, I don't remember what you guys called it in the forum, but like the silent breeding traits. But yeah, we don't think about the scientific. We're just looking at it and like, this is pretty. I really like this. Can you breed more? The
real economics of from the grower standpoint, how much does it cost to grow? What's your yield going to be? How much can you put in the bottom line in terms of exporting those flowers? And so it's a matrix of all those factors that lead to the decision by a grower. And with anthurium, it's particularly important because when you make a decision to grow a particular hybrid of anthurium, it's a 5 to 7 year process between putting it into culture, propagating it, getting it to put into commercial production, and when you see the flowers. So the cycle in terms of that investment is so large that you have to be very, very frugal in terms of the risks that you take in your selection of varieties. So we hear very clearly what the designers want, but then trying to make that a reality, again, talking with the breeders, everything else, they'll listen and they'll try and incorporate it into those factors, bearing in mind what the growers need in terms of resistance to pests and pesticides and diseases, as well as yields and growth rate. Those are all factors that the grower has to take into consideration when they make their selection. I think when you saw the breeders' catalog of what they're working on, they'll tell you how many flowers per year, what resistance to bacterial blight is, what the resistance to certain funguses are, and all those are factors that lead into the grower's decision as to how much they'll invest in that particular flower.
It's a lot.
I think the beauty of the culture of agriculture in Hawaii is that you have your prominent commercial growers that can supply the numbers, but then you have the peppering of boutique growers that's always teasing with some little side stuff. And I think that's a combination that really works because you can see that there's a future. There's some cool stuff that's happening. And that's what designers really love to kind of target when it comes to where we want to source our stuff. We want to see that there's something really exciting brewing. And that's what we like to support. So thank you for the combination of wonderful small growers with the bigger commercial growers that happens in Hawaii. I think that's what makes it so incredible.
I fully agree because, in a plant breeding program, a private plant breeding program is very, very expensive. And, and I'm glad the university is doing it. And I'm glad to see the boutique growers doing that and coming up with very unique varieties. They may not be commercially viable in expansive cultivation or production, but you never know. And the new Pahoa Red is a good example of a grower coming up with a hybrid that did work and is commercially viable. So we have this experimentation going on. And God bless it. I think that's the future for anthurium farming here in Hawaii.
experimentation is so important. It's so cool to see. Yeah.
Oh, look at the time.
Oh, we're wrapping it up. I just want a huge shout out to Big Island Tents. I don't think I mentioned it in the video, but they provided the chairs for our aisleway. They're amazing if you need rentals. I think they did some of the rentals for Gordon's son's wedding. But anyway, thank you so much.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much, and that was a great explanation. I think we really covered a good sense of what goes on out here and all the different challenges and whatnot. I'm going to go back and grow eucalyptus and black flowers for everybody. So I see where the demand on that's going. Gordon, thanks, brother. That was
Thank
great.
you. So good to see you, Tommy.
Thanks, you guys.
It was nice to join you all.
Aloha.
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 Aloha, brother.